Hello, thank you for joining me today. We continue to focus on the 7 cures of a lean purse as was taught by the wealthiest man in Babylon. The second cure that the wealthiest man in Babylon, Akkad, taught his friends was about controlling their expenditures. The people wondered how they would live on 90% of their income after saving 10%. This was so since they believed what they earned was insufficient to meet their necessary expenses. In wisdom, Akkad first stated that so many of us confuse desires to be necessary expenses. Additionally, he said that everyone will always have more wants than they can satisfy each time. Just like in Babylonian times, today, the line between wants and needs is confusing for many people. Thus, it becomes challenging to separate expenses belonging to each category. Nonetheless, distinguishing between needs and wants aids in controlling spending. Needs are usually things necessary for your essential existence. Examples of needs are housing, which could either be rent or mortgage, utility bills, healthcare, food, education expenses, work-related expenses, essential clothing and essential self-care. Wants or desires are things and services that make life more enjoyable. It is lovely to have these wants, but you can live without them. Mostly, your wants are variable expenses, which means the amount you spend on them will vary every month. Wants might include vacations, entertainment, restaurants, various forms of subscriptions, example, gym membership. Secondly, Akkad said, what each of us calls our necessary expenses will always grow to equal our incomes unless we protest to the contrary. Further, his advice is don't confuse your necessary expenses with thy desires. Under the principle, you realize that the amount of income earned is not important if you cannot control your expenditure. Furthermore, as income increases, people tend to boost their spending. It's called lifestyle inflation. For example, we often hear stories of individuals winning millions in a lottery, only to have it spent within a few years and back to square zero. Now, compare this to the story of the person with a low yearly income who lives prudently and can retire comfortably. The primary difference between these two examples is how people spend their money. Thirdly, Akkad said we all have more desires than we can gratify. Hence, when it comes to spending, we need to select the worthwhile desires that we will satisfy and ignore the rest. To quote the wealthiest man in Babylon, therefore, engrave upon the clay each thing for which thou desire to spend. Select those that are necessary and others that are possible through the expenditure of 9/10 of thy income. Cross out the rest and consider them but a part of that great multitude of desires that must go unsatisfied and regret them not. Another piece of advice was, study thoughtfully the accustomed habits of living. Some spending habits are self-sabotaging or counterproductive. Impulse buying, binge buying, and frequently buying things on sale means you will buy items you do not need. To control your expenses, you need to identify your spending triggers. It is easy to overcome the urge to overspend if you are conscious of the emotional and psychological triggers that cause you to buy stuff. Some spending triggers are environmental. Some environments make you want to spend or feel obliged to buy stuff just because you're there. Going to places like fairs, shopping malls, exhibitions, and even being on vacation are excellent examples of times when you're more likely to consume impulsively. You can manage your spending by developing a budget to spend at a specific place and adhering to it. Your moods. Some emotional states are stressful or exciting, and some people respond by opting to shop to feel good. To them, shopping or spending is retail therapy. Hence, they are prone to impulse buying. Rather than going to the mall or shopping online, going for a walk or exercising will do wonders and lift your mood. It's good to identify the moods that affect your spending behavior and find ways to avoid shopping when you are emotional. Peer pressure influence. Financial peer pressure can hugely influence what you do with your money. In previous generations, it has been a keeping up with the Joneses. Currently, the pressure to spend for the millennials and Gen Z is the fear of missing out. Do you consume more money than you usually want when hanging out with your friends? Friends can negatively influence us if we have bad spending habits. Always plan your spending and remember it's okay to decline their invites or make alternative suggestions. If you overspend to please other people, you may never attain your goals. Learning to overcome financial peer pressure is vital for managing personal finances successfully. Lifestyle. If your lifestyle is above your income, you will be shackled in debt. Remember to cut your coat according to your size. Upbringing also influences your lifestyle choices. Suppose you grew up in a household where money was always tight. In that case, you may feel the urge to overspend to compensate for everything you lacked when growing up. Similarly, if you grew up in a household where money wasn't an issue, you might feel compelled to spend money you don't have to maintain the lifestyle you grew up with. There are many other spending catalysts. If you examine your habits closely, you will uncover them and begin changing them one step at a time. Lastly, Akkad advised on the need to budget for our expenses. To cite his words, budget the expenses that thou mayest have coins to pay for thy necessities, to pay for thy enjoyments, and to gratify thy worthwhile desires without spending more than 9/10 of thy earnings. Many people don't plan their spending. This is so since they believe a budget will restrain their fun and other budgeting myths. Benjamin Franklin said, "If you fail to plan, you plan to fail." The meaning of this is that fundamentally success doesn't happen by accident. It takes planning, knowing where you are heading and how you will get there. A budget is an excellent guide to attaining financial success. Also, remember that you will get to plan for your fun expenses in your budget. Life is meant to be enjoyed, not merely endured, so fun expenses are vital. The benefits of budgeting are: 1. It helps you arrange your priorities. You can't purchase everything. Every decision requires a sacrifice. Making a budget helps you think more deeply about the goods and services you will acquire and those you must ignore. Creating a budget can help you set those priorities in order of importance. Ordinary priorities include basic needs, wants, wish list items. 2. A budget prevents you from overspending. Budgeting is balancing income and expenses in advance. This enables you to determine if your income is enough to meet your desired expenses. Budgeting helps you spend in the order of importance. 3. Budgeting is taking charge of your money. Have you ever been on a shopping spree only to return with an empty wallet and wonder if you lost cash? Or receive your credit card statement later and doubt if you are the one who spent all the money? Are you constantly wondering how money gets used up so fast? Nothing will stop you from overspending without a spending plan. John Maxwell says a budget tells your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. Through budgeting and expense tracking, you become intentional about your spending. 4. Budgeting helps you attain your financial goals. After creating your financial goals, you get to plan for them when budgeting and begin fulfilling them. I have a video that talks about setting financial goals. Please check it out and watch it so you can learn how to create good financial goals. Spending less than you earn is easier said than done. Our consumer-focused society makes it very easy to overspend. However, you need to embrace the second cure for a lean pass to succeed financially. To wrap up today's session, here are the key takeaways for the second cure of a lean pass. 1. Distinguish between needs and wants. 2. Not all desires are worth your money. Choose the desires that are important to you and ignore the rest. 3. Study thy spending habits and work on those that are detrimental to your success. 4. Budget for your expenses and 5. Demand value for every penny you spend. Thank you for staying with me till the end of the session. If the video was informative, kindly subscribe, share widely, and write a comment below. Also, here is another video to watch.